Hey, how's it going? All right, so we're going to work on converting a unit, um, actually a rate. We're going to work on converting a rate to a different rate. So let's just take a look here. In our problem here, we have 100 feet in 30 seconds. So say maybe you ran 100 feet, measured out distance, 100 feet, and it took you 3 seconds. But we want to try to figure out how fast that is in miles per hour. So we're going to convert a rate, and it's a very simple process. I'm going to use just simple canceling out units to get us there. So let's take a look. So my rule of thumb is anytime you're converting anything, whether it be a rate, whether it be a single unit, take what you're given and write it down and make a fraction out of it. So here is what we were given. Okay, let's go ahead and write that down and make it into a nice fraction with a numerator and denominator. Okay, so 100 feet in 3 seconds. Let's turn that into the rate 100 feet per 3 seconds. All right, so we took what we were given, we wrote it down, we made a fraction out of it. So anytime we're converting anything, that's what we're going to do. And we must multiply, okay? So in order to cancel out units, you have to be multiplying fractions. So we have a fraction, let's just take off multiplying, okay? So let's multiply this fraction by, now what we're wanting to do here is we're wanting to turn feet over seconds, feet per second, into miles over hours, miles per hour. So let's just focus on one of these units right now to cancel out and turn into the other unit. Okay, so let's focus on our top units, feet. So we don't want feet on top in our answer anymore. We want miles on top. So let's forget about the seconds right now. Let's just pretend like this is 100 feet over 3. Let's just focus on canceling feet out and turning them into miles. So in order to cancel feet out, feet is on top. So the only way feet will cancel out is if they're on bottom in our multiplier. So let's just create that. All right. Now we can create whatever we want here. It just has to be true. Okay. So if we want feet to cancel, I'm going to put feet in my conversion factor here. Now we need to figure out, so just forget about all that for a second. This has to be true. Okay. So we need to figure out what we want to relate feet to. Do we want to relate feet to inches, feet to yards, feet to miles, feet to centimeters, feet to whatever other unit of length? We want miles. Okay, so do we know the feet miles relationship? If you don't, you could go feet to something else and eventually get us to miles. But I think most people know the feet to miles relationship. If you don't, we can look at a conversion chart. So we know that there's 5,280. So 5,280 feet are equivalent to 1 mile. Okay, so this just has to be true. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that. This just has to be true, right? And this is true, 1 mile per 5,280 feet. Now let's go back and look at the math. So feet on top, as long as we're multiplying fractions, we can cancel out units. So feet on top are going to cancel with feet on bottom, and we've got miles on top, which is what we want in our answer. We want miles per hour. We want miles on top. So that's good. So we've converted our feet units in this rate to miles. Now let's go focus on our other unit. Let's go focus on our time unit, seconds. We don't want seconds on bottom. We want hours on bottom. We want miles on top per hours on bottom. So now let's forget about everything else. Let's just look at our seconds. Okay, let's get our seconds on bottom to go away, and we want to create hours on bottom. So let's just throw in another multiplier, right? If we want to cancel out units, we have to multiply fractions. So let's come up with a new fraction here. This is going to be our conversion factor for time. If seconds are already on bottom and we want to cancel them out, that means seconds has to go on top, right? Seconds on bottom will cancel with seconds on top. Seconds on bottom won't cancel with seconds on bottom. So we strategically put seconds on top here, and this helps us to start setting up our conversion factor. Now, we need to relate seconds to something else. This conversion factor that we're plugging in here just has to be true. We could relate seconds to minutes. We could relate seconds to hours, seconds to years, seconds to weeks, months, whatever other time unit we wanted. This just needs to be true, but we would like this to help us out, right? We actually want hours, so let's relate seconds to hours. To be honest with you, I would have to think about that. I don't really know that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go seconds to minutes because I know that one off the top of my head. Real easy. Okay, seconds to minutes. Now we fill in the appropriate numbers. There are 60 seconds per every 1 minute. Okay, so let's go ahead and cancel out seconds on bottom, cancels with seconds on top. And if we stopped right here, we would end up with an answer that has miles per minute on bottom, and we don't want that either. So let's just go ahead and go again. Okay, so we're going to work our way to getting hours on bottom. So let's go ahead and throw in another multiplier, and let's focus on our minutes. So we converted seconds to minutes. Now let's convert minutes to hours. Minutes are on bottom. We don't want minutes on bottom. So let's get rid of minutes. So in our new multiplier here, our new conversion factor, since minutes are on bottom right now and we want to cancel them out, the only place that they will cancel is if minutes go on top. Now we can relate minutes to hours a little more easily, right? Now we'll go ahead and throw hours in on bottom. And I know this relationship. Remember, this has to be true, right? So there are 60 minutes per 1 hour. You could also put 120 minutes per 2 hours, and it would give us the same exact answer. This just has to be true, right? You could put 30 minutes over 0.5 hours. That would also work. The conversion factors we create here just have to be true. All right, let's go check our units. Minutes on bottom are going to cancel with minutes on top, and we're left with hours on bottom. That's what we want. Okay, so let's take these 1, 2, 3, 4 fractions and let's multiply them together. Remember, multiplying fractions are easy. I'm going to scoot this up. You don't have to get any common denominators or do anything fancy. You just multiply your tops and you multiply your bottoms. And we're going to get a new fraction here. So let's do that. So I'm going to take 100 on top times 1 times 60 times another 60. And that's going to give me the number on top, 360,000. And we still have miles on top. So those are our units that are going to stick with that top number. Okay, so our new top number is 360,000 miles. Let's go ahead and multiply our bottom numbers. So we got 3 times 5,280 times 1, which is going to give us 15,840. Let me check that again just to make sure. Yep, 15,840. 15,840, and our units on bottom are hours. Get carried along. Everything else is canceled out. And there's our last fraction answer. Let's go ahead and turn that into a nice decimal answer. So we'll go ahead and divide that out. So 360,000 divided by 15,840. And I'll go ahead and round this to say the 10th spot. So we're coming up with about 22.7 miles per every 1 hour. I'll go ahead and throw the approximate symbol in there, and that would be my final answer. So that's a pretty easy conversion there, just using unit canceling. That's how we do it. Hope this helps.